It would look a lot like the US food system, which is a sick system that's making people sick. I want to say a few things about the US food system. It's considered to be the most efficient in the world in terms of cost of production, but that doesn't include the health and environmental costs. Those are not reflected in the prices of food, but they're carried on in the burden of people and health. So just a few things about the US food system. Most of our farmland is being used to grow corn and soy, 177 million acres. That accounts for almost 90% of grains and seed production, and more than 90% of it is genetically engineered and paired with pesticides. Also, most of the seeds for corn, nearly all of them, are covered with neonicotinoids, which are making the whole plant toxic and poison. So the results of that, we see crashing bee populations, and we see a lot of people getting sick. So Americans have very high rates of cancer. 1 in 2 Americans are expected now to get some form of cancer in their lifetimes. We also see children are getting very sick. Americans are now spending more years living with chronic disease than most other industrialized countries. 6 in 10 Americans have at least one chronic disease, and 4 in 10 have more than one. And that number is also very high for children. 30 million children, that's 40%, have at least one chronic health condition. So the numbers are very bad. We see young people with fatty liver disease, pre-diabetic. 40% of adolescents are living with obesity or overweight, and scientists are expecting a 400% increase in type 2 diabetes in young people over the next 40 years. So I think these statistics tell the story of what an industrialized food system looks like at its most industrialized. And it's also not working for farmers and not working for communities. At least half of the 10 lowest paid jobs in the US are in the food industry. 86% of food workers earn poverty wages. Many of them need to be on food stamps. So this is just clearly a system that's not working. It's very fragile. We had many problems and disruptions during the pandemic. We're importing food from all over. We're importing many of our fruits and vegetables from Mexico, and now the costs are going up. We have to import workers also from other countries. It's heavily subsidized. I don't think there's any way you can look at the US food system and see a healthy, thriving, sustainable system. And so there's just, under no circumstances should we be exporting that type of harm to other countries. I think we need to look to other countries for how to build sovereign, healthy, local food systems. And I think Africa, as a land that's not yet been colonized by this industrialized food system as fully as every other area in the world, really has a role to show the rest of the world how new food systems can be created that create healthy local food based on agroecological principles and farming methods.